A severe blow has come to Venezuela. I'm going to explain exactly what happened and the lessons that we can learn from this as we explore. This is breaking news coming to us from Reuters about what happened in an appeal from the Venezuelan central bank. That's right, they have lost all of the gold that has been stored in London's vaults after they lost this appeal in a long-running gold reserves battle. According to Reuters here, the Venezuelan central bank board, controlled by the government of President Nicolas Maduro, on Friday lost its latest appeal over $1.95 billion of the country's gold reserves held in the Bank of England's underground vaults. For those of you familiar with this channel, you know that I've covered this topic a number of times, every time it's been in the news, and now we have apparently the end of the process. They have lost their appeal. They will not be able to get their gold, at least for now, at least with this regime. Now, there's several lessons that can come from this, and we'll talk about this later as we outline more details of this story. If you enjoy videos like this, I hope you will consider pressing that thumbs up button and also sharing the video with others on other social media platforms, including this one, and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already as well. The Central Bank of Venezuela was challenging a previous ruling that certain decisions of Venezuela's top court should be recognized by English courts in this gold case. Lawyers representing the Venezuelan Central Bank in the challenge said it will now be returned to London's High Court to determine what happens next. Now, former Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido is no longer recognized by Britain's government as the country's leader. And it'll be very interesting to see if they will win that appeal. This is, I guess, a last-ditch effort, but it's gone for now. And unless they hear that challenge and take it up, this is the end of the line. Guaido's interim presidency ended late last year, and the opposition National Assembly is now headed by exiled lawmaker Dinora Figuera. New opposition leadership is anxiously awaiting approvals to allow distribution of foreign funds, especially those located in the United States. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background to this whole ordeal. As I mentioned in prior videos, many people feel the elections in Venezuela, in fact, most of the world thought that they were rigged and corrupt. And Nicolas Maduro has nationalized pretty much all aspects of the government, taking what his predecessor did and taking it to the next level with socialistic dictatorship in that country. And so therefore, they have essentially stolen a lot of the people's goods and services and really oppressed the people there in Venezuela. It's a horrible situation for sure. So therefore, this government is not really recognized by the world. And so therefore, it's also not recognized by the Central Bank of England either. So if you're giving the gold back to Venezuela, you're essentially giving it back to the Maduro regime to squander it and enrich themselves, because that's what socialism does. It provides a great deal of power and money to the people at the top while the rest suffer. And that is what socialism is, and it's horrible. When you have a fascistic dictatorship involved in socialism, it never is good. But there's a lesson to be learned from this, but I'll talk about more of that here in a moment. The BCV, the Central Bank of Venezuela, had taken up the case 3 years ago, saying it wanted to sell the gold, which amounts to around 15% of Venezuela's foreign currency reserves, to fund the country's response to the coronavirus pandemic. A paltry excuse, by the way, for sure. The Venezuelan Communications Ministry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. And nonetheless, there are sanctions against Venezuela, and rightfully so, because of what the Maduro regime is doing. But that, they now want to get the gold back. They're desperate because the socialism eats its way essentially to the top as well. And when a country fails and has hyperinflation, sooner or later, that's going to rise to the surface and boil over. The only thing left is gold. Gold is the equalizer of all money out there because it does not really lose value. It maintains its value, even in spite of price. And recognize the world around, gold has no agenda. And so, therefore, Maduro knows this. So he wants to take it. And by the way, Hugo Chavez knew this too. He did repatriate some of his gold. And of course, that was before it got really, really bad. It still was bad enough even under Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. But nonetheless, this is where we are at now. And the lesson that we can learn from this, folks, is quite simple. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And really, that's the case here for sure. And they, when Chavez repatriated some of that gold, he didn't get it all. Of course, all of that is all squandered now. And we are now in a situation where the gold that's left over, that $195 billion worth, is still in the vaults in England. Now, what will they do with that gold? They're just going to keep it there until a stable form of government reforms from a democratically elected leader and fair elections that can be trusted the world round in that country. And, I can understand that. But at the same time, had Venezuela held on to that gold themselves and secured it themselves, well, this would not be a problem for them, at least for the Maduro regime. It still would be a problem for the people because the people are never going to benefit from this gold. And the gold is the people's gold, just like this gold here in the United States is technically the people's gold. Of course, we'll never see it. And the way our government squanders our money here as well, I don't look for that happening anytime soon. Of course, you can make a lot of claims against our government here in the United States, this current regime as well too. But nonetheless, it's not as bad as what's going on in Venezuela yet. And I think we have a long ways to go to get to that point. But nonetheless, gold is a metal that you hold yourself. Now, in the case of a situation where you may have your own gold in your possession, there's other ways that if you don't have it in your possession, that it could be lost. And it could be through no fault of your own. If you stored it in a depository, somewhere, there's a counterparty risk. You're dependent on another party to secure that gold for one reason or another. Read the fine print of all those agreements when you agree to do so. By the way, there are some benefits to that as well. Security, physical security is paramount and likely much better than your home security. But nonetheless, there are ways to secure yourself with single party risk, because that is something that is a great deal. And that may be something that maybe Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro certainly assessed with regards to their gold and realized that they probably could not secure it as well as it would be in London. So they took that chance. And that's a chance you take. There's always risk in anything, even if you own and hold the gold yourself. This gold here is here in my possession where I'm at right now. And nonetheless, I can be burglarized right now and all be taken. Now, the best thing to do is to be secure and be safe. You want to take all the measures you can to protect yourself. And by the way, this goes into deep storage in several different locations, which means that I am engaging in counterparty risk if I hold them in separate locations that I can't get to at any time. I can get to it most time, but you have to have an immeasurable amount of trust against the other parties from which the risk is taking place. And that is something that you can have that benefit to do, to essentially remove yourself as a target and to where you're storing it at other locations where the other people are in a better position to secure themselves. That is always good. But regardless, no matter what, and even if you don't have any precious metals, I strongly and highly, I cannot stress this enough, folks. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have home security, home-based security. In other words, have cameras that cover every square inch of your property and the interior of your home that are triggered with movement, no matter what comes and goes, and get the highest resolution possible. That kind of investment is invaluable. It pays for itself just to being able to sleep at night. That alone is definitely worth the cost of admission. To be secure in your property, something that is foolproof, even if the power goes off. That's right. even if the power goes off, you have to think about that as well too. If the power is cut, that you can continue to access the imagery from those cameras. A very important aspect of it. Security and visual security is important. The next thing is your physical security in terms of have a home defense mechanisms in place. Alarm set, audio alarm set if there ever is a break-in. Absolute paramount, whether you have precious metals or not. A third thing is to be well armed and well protected. And I'm talking about having a gun in every single room of the house, loaded and ready to go. In an inconspicuous place, if you have children, know where to get it, know where to reach it, just in the case. And some people say that's paranoia, but I'd much rather be paranoid and be safe than not. I can't tell you how important that is to have plenty of ammunition, plenty of guns, high firepower, even excessive firepower. There's never such thing as too much firepower, in my opinion. Exercise that Second Amendment to the absolute fullest, especially with regards to your family and your valuables. Yes, your things. This is worth killing somebody over, for sure. Somebody comes in my home and I'm there and they say, I want your gold, pop, they're dead. Somebody steps in my home, that's going to happen. I guarantee you. You've got to be safe. You worked hard for your property, and no one is going to take that away from you. And so you've got to be safe. You've got to feel secure. I can't stress that enough. I've already stressed it too much. But anyways, Venezuela now understands this. They've had to go through a big court battle, at least the regime has. Was it worth the risk of storing it in England? Maybe for them it was for a time, but now they're dealing with this. And of course, I'd be very curious to know exactly how Maduro would enrich himself with that gold if he were to have it in his possession. Let me know what your thoughts are about this topic. A fascinating breaking news story here. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you will consider sharing it, as I mentioned before, pressing that thumbs up button. Only about 10% of the audience that actually has YouTube accounts takes the time to thumb up my videos. So I hope maybe more of you will here. And also, I've posted some other videos recently that the YouTube algorithm has just glossed over. And I think they're fairly decent videos. It's a hit or miss, it seems like, with the algorithm. And for me, it's been mostly miss as of late. I am trying to grow the channel, but I can't tell you how appreciative I am for many of you who, in spite of the algorithm, you come back every day to watch the videos. And that means more to me than you will ever know. So a multitude of gratitude to all of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.